Welcome to the Mom and podcast. We're your hosts, Suzanne Kearns
and Missy Stevens. We want to help you through everything that happens in the ellipses, from your professional life to your emotional health.
You're a mom and so much more. Let's figure out what comes next together. Welcome to the Mom and podcast. I'm Suzanne Kearns, Mom and writer, LGBTQ and sex ed advocate, and today the searcher of a missing computer that UPS said they handed to someone yesterday, but was not me. So Merry Christmas to my daughter and her missing computer.
Oh, that's not good. Okay.
I know.
I hope they resolve that. And I wonder who in your neighborhood has a computer.
I know. Congratulations. It's a nice one.
And I'm Missy Stevens, mom and writer, foster child advocate. And this week, really excited Horned Frog fan. They are headed to the Big 12 championships. I'm not really a football person, but you can't help but get excited.
Who are the Horned Frogs?
TCU Horned Frogs.
Oh, sorry.
That's my alma mater.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
It's a really scary mascot.
Do you have a t-shirt on for them?
I have my sweatshirt on.
Okay.
Look, see, there's a horned frog.
Y'all need to go to YouTube just to check that out.
So, yeah. And today we're really excited to have Lizz Porter on the show. Lizz is a mom and boss lady and creative mind behind Pew Pew Lasercraft, a home decor.
Go, pew, pew.
I know, I love it. A home decor and accessories company for those who don't take life too seriously. She's been a lifelong maker and crafter, and after going to school for graphic design, has always leaned into design-focused options. There's not much that brings her more joy than a custom order that lets her help bring a customer's idea to life. Lizz lives in the Sierra foothills in Northern California with her husband, Jamie, son, Max, and a couple of cats and a dog. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, so excited. I know our paths have crossed a million times
Yes.
at Mom Too, all the things, and we know all the same people, but for some reason, we've not had an opportunity to just sit down and really get to know you a little bit more.
I know. Crazy.
I know. So, yeah, we ran a little bit through your bio there, but can you give our listeners a little Lizz 101 about where your career started and how it's progressed through the years?
So my path has been a circuitous one. I went to school. I went to art school for graphic design and advertising. My plan was to be, a Don Draper type in the world. I was going to be this high-powered ad creative. That's not how things worked out, because things never work out exactly how you plan when you're 17.
Yes.
So I worked as a graphic designer for a number of years. I designed junk mail. I designed phone book ads. I did all sorts of assorted design work. And in 2010, I found out about social media and social marketing as a thing. And so I kind of pivoted into social marketing, which was a great combination for me of design and this newly sort of evolving passion that I discovered for the whole social marketing concept. So I did that. I worked at a couple of startups and a very large tech company that rhymes with frugal for a while. And so I did that for a number of years. And then 4 years ago, I got my first laser, and it was a thing. We had a membership at a makerspace years ago, and they had a laser, and it's when they started at $30,000 or $40,000. So it wasn't really a thing that you could just have at home.
Oh, yeah.
And the joke around the makerspace was it's like the gateway drug of making. Once you take the class, you're going to be obsessed. And it's true. I took the class. I was obsessed. And so when they started coming down in price to this sort of reasonable, I could swing a couple $1,000s sort of thing, I got one and basically launched my business. My first laser was delivered on Halloween. I tried to convince my 10-year-old that he didn't need to go trick-or-treating so that I could stay home and play with it. He was not a fan. And so it just kind of went from there. So I officially launched Pew Pew Lasercraft in January of 2019. And it was part-time. I was still working full-time in Silicon Valley at the time. So it was just like a side thing. It was fun. I would post on Facebook, look, I made earrings. And then people would be like, I want earrings. And so again, I love the design part of it. And so it really allows me to sort of flex those creative muscles that I didn't necessarily get to do in my day job.
So can you
And
explain to
then
us, people who don't know what the lasers are, like what does that even look like? Does this take up a
That's a good
room? Does it take
question.
up a desk? Does it look like a sewing machine? Oh, do you have one right there?
it's
Oh,
right there.
wow.
That's my
Okay,
big
y'all got to
one.
go to YouTube and look at that.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's big. So I can cut up to 24 by 36 inches. So that's like the bed.
Okay.
Um,
So it's like a
and
great big printer is kind of what it looks like for
essentially
anybody
that
who.
uses a laser instead of ink.
Okay.
So like I design in Illustrator and like use some Photoshop, but I primarily do my design work in Illustrator and then I send it like it's a big printer. I have, special software that allows me to like create all of the settings because you can control the speed and the power, all of that sort of stuff to really tweak what you're going to get depending on the material that you're using and
Okay.
all those sorts of things, different looks with engraving and all of that.
And what are the
Um,
material options?
So I primarily work in wood and acrylic. So like sheet plastic,
Mm-hmm.
just because that comes in a million great colors and like special effects. There's glitter and iridescent and holographic and all sorts of cool stuff. And
Yeah.
so those are my primary materials. I do also work with leather. So I will make, if my husband hadn't taken my car, I would be wearing my hat with my logo on it. But so I do some leather work. I engrave tumblers like Yetis and things like that.
Oh,
How do you get those in
Um,
the printer?
they fit. They
so Suzanne's the nuts and bolts girl.
I'm
She's
just
like,
yeah,
picturing
totally.
this.
So I can actually raise and lower the surface inside the laser. And so
Okay.
I can do up to about 6 inches tall. And then I have a rotary. So I lay the cup on the rotary and then it actually spins like at the right speed as the laser is going across.
Fun.
All of my visual hand motions are so useful for a podcast. And so so basically I could do round items and I have a bunch of tumblers I'm gonna do when we're done here. I have a wide variety of things that I can do. I'll engrave like on tops of boxes. I did an urn for a friend of mine for her dog's ashes.
Oh,
And and so we like engraved a beautiful picture of him on it. So stuff like that. And that's one of my examples of making a customer's sort of vision come to life. She was like, I have to do something.
is it
Yeah.
loud?
It's pretty loud. It's
Is it?
mostly because there's an exhaust fan.
Oh, okay.
So like it makes some noise when you turn it on, but the fan that I have makes the most noise because it's sucking all that smoke and stuff out and then blowing it out the window. I'm in a temporary workspace right now. We'll get more into that in a little bit. So it'll be different once I'm in my permanent space. That'll knock the volume down a bit so that I don't have to crank the volume on my music or my podcasts all the way up so that I can hear it. So yeah.
So we
Really
want to
excited.
talk about your temporary workspace
Yeah,
because
totally.
we really want to talk some about like how we support moms when they are really doing their thing, their momming, their work, whatever it is, under
Yep.
extreme circumstances. And you have had some extreme circumstances.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little. And we want to start with a fire, with whatever
Yeah.
you're comfortable sharing and telling us about.
Sure.
But the fire will kind of explain why you're in a temporary space.
Yes. So my temporary space is actually my father-in-law's wood shop. He passed away in 2021. This will come into play. He passed away in May of 2021. So it's like a shed, like a tough shed out next to my mother-in-law's house, which is where we are currently living and have been living for the last 15 months since a wildfire swept through and burned down our house and everything in it 1 year and 1 day after we bought it.
Oh.
My husband and I say 0 stars, do not recommend.
Oh.
So we lost our house. It was one of 100 in the fire. So in the scale of California wildfires, it was small. It was only 2,500 acres and only 100 houses were lost.
Yeah,
but
only. But every
nobody
single one of those
died.
counts.
The only injuries were people who jumped into the river to get away from the fire.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
Like, and so, I mean, it was like somebody, I want to say they messed up their knee and somebody else like broke an arm or something. So,
yeah.
but like those are the only injuries. So in the realm of horrific wildfires, it could have been a lot worse. People do say, well, at least you only lost stuff. And it's like, yes, but it was my stuff and I liked it.
Yes.
So,
and not even the stuff. I mean, the stuff is bad enough, but it's just like the fact that you've been out of sorts for 16 months more?
Yeah. August 5th of 2021.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, it just throws your whole life into chaos, and there's kids to manage and animals to manage.
Yep. And my husband's actually late at the time. And so we tried to like set the bar real low to have a good year this year. So, we started with a layoff, and then we lost my father-in-law, which was totally like not expected.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then our house burned down 2.5 months after he was gone. So yeah, it wasn't a great year for us, but 2022 has been much better. So
well, that's good. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's that. And as Missy said, just, doing your thing, even in the face of chaos and all this stuff going on, you're just still plugging along. Like, where do you pull from to do that?
I don't know. No, there's not. It's very much. It's like, I have to. There's not an alternate option. I need a house for my family. So I have to deal with rebuilding, and I have to deal with the absolute ridiculousness of the number of government agencies that you have to deal with when your house burns down in a wildfire. I can't just be like, I don't want to deal with this. Like,
yep.
And so it's just this is what we have to do. And life can be so amazing and so great and happy and wonderful and everything, but you also have to deal with the mud and the garbage and the crap in order to get to the really good parts. And so parenting under extreme circumstances, Max, my 14-year-old, was actually born at 28 weeks. So he only weighed 2 pounds. He spent 91 days in the NICU. And we don't do anything the easy way. And I remember sitting next to his isolette. Like, I couldn't even just like touch him without a nurse like giving me permission, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there, and it was like, okay, I know my conscious brain knows that someday this time is going to be a blink. That's now. So I just have to get through. They had told us it would probably be about 3 months. So I'm like, I just have to get through the next 3 months, and then I can start getting to where this time is a blink. And so like right after the fire, I was like, okay, I've done this. I know that I have this big, long road in front of me, and that eventually it'll just be like, our lives will always be before the fire and after the fire.
Right.
Like, there's no question that that's going to be like a big sort of signifier in our lives,
Sure.
but I don't want it to be a primary function of my personality.
Yeah.
It's just this thing that it was a card that we were dealt, and we dealt with it, and then we're moving forward. And so as we get closer and closer, so we're currently looking at probably moving into our new house middle to end of January.
Exciting.
So we're getting so close.
Congratulations.
So close.
Yes.
And my husband, he's like, every day when I come home from work, because our street, we drive right past our street every day to get to where we're staying. And he's like, every day it gets harder and harder not to turn there. It's like, it looks like a house now. It's painted. Like, it doesn't have a front door yet, but it's painted. And so it's like, we're getting to this very frustrating part where it's just, we're so close. We're so close.
I'm like him. We have got some neighbors building a house across the street from us. And I mean, it's probably like 6 months from being finished, but I'm like, certainly someone could just go in there. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, they just need to pretty it up a little. We want neighbors.
It's such an amazing gift to have that perspective that you had when you were talking about when your son was a newborn. I remember having a newborn and thinking, well, that's it. I'm never even gonna, I cried into a bowl of cereal because I thought I would never eat a bowl of cereal without being interrupted again, which is such a silly thing to be upset about. But when you're just in the trenches of
it's real.
Man.
And I just remember weeping, and I couldn't see my way out of it. And eventually I got to that. And that's what I always tell new moms is you may not be able to see your way out, but it's coming. And I think it's great that you were able to get there on your own. And now you've used that lesson again in your life. And that's just, I would like to stitch that on a pillow. Like, this will be in the past.
You can laser it.
Yeah, you can laser it on something.
Oh my
I know
God.
a guy.
Okay. And now, so as if the fire is not enough, you've also been dealing with health issues is
Yeah.
around dialysis and
Mhm.
then also a kidney transplant. So you've been dealing with a lot of that. Tell us, what has that process looked like? How is that fed into everything else?
Well, I think that that's where my sort of ability to look at things down the road as the blink. I think this is where it came from because I first got sick, I was like 22. And so this has been a thing for my entire adult life, whether
Right.
it's being on dialysis or having a transplant. Like, technically, I'm always chronically ill. I'm always in end stage renal disease, whatever, but because it is considered incurable. A
Hmm.
kidney is a treatment, not a cure.
Interesting.
And so it's just sort of at this point built into my identity. It's not that I had surgery because I broke my leg really bad or something. It's like, this is a permanent part of my life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where I got that sort of ability to take that approach on when these like crappy long-term things happen.
Yeah.
I forgot what the question actually was.
Oh, no, I just, for those of
But
us
you
who
answered it.
aren't familiar with the
Oh,
process, especially,
right.
with dialysis or,
Yeah,
with the transplant, I guess starting with dialysis, like what does
sure.
that look like? I'm sure it varies person to person, but what did that look like for you on a
Bit.
daily or weekly basis?
Yeah, so there's actually sort of a two-part thing to it. So this most recent time, so I just got my transplant August 30th of this year. It's like 3 months and 2 days ago that I got
Wow.
my transplant. So it would have been 5 years on dialysis in like the middle of October is when I
Mm.
went back on. So at first did what's called peritoneal dialysis. So it's done at home overnight while you're sleeping.
Oh.
It's a totally different sort of method than what people picture as dialysis, which is
Mm-hmm.
hemodialysis.
Okay.
So PD is so your peritoneum is like the lining of your abdominal cavity, right?
Mhm.
It's like the bag that holds all your organs together. So it also will work as a filter using osmosis. So what they do is they implant a tube in your stomach and you fill your stomach, your peritoneum with essentially sugar water. It's like a 1% dextrose solution. So you leave it in there and you have a machine that'll pump it and drain it and pump it and drain it while you're sleeping. And so it basically fills you up and then your body is like, wait, what is this? Oh, it's sugar water. There's no waste products in it, but there's lots of waste products in all this blood because my kidneys aren't clearing anything out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So here, let's trade. So it'll then filter through the lining of your abdomen to actually get the waste products out and then into the solution. So it sits for a few hours and then it drains out and then it refills. And so it'll do that like 3 or 4 times over the course of the night.
Science
It's
is
really
freaking
cool.
amazing. Like,
It's so cool. And
That's
also, like, who came up with that? Like,
the whole
so
time you're talking, I'm like, who decided? Maybe we'll try
yeah.
this.
oh my
And
goodness.
so it was great. As if I have to be on dialysis, PD is awesome. Like, it loosens up the dietary restrictions compared to hemo, the other dialysis. I could go away for the weekend if I want. I travel, like, I was able to go to Mom too,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
all of the times that I was on dialysis. And so it's like it leaves a lot more. I even went to Ireland for work. And so it's a lot more flexibility than the in clinic.
So what does that
Unfortunately,
machine look like then? I mean, literally,
it's
don't have to show us, but like, what does that
it
mean for carrying it around?
good. I don't have it anymore. So
Good.
it's about maybe yay big by yay big. It's not super big. It's basically a scale and a pump. So you put the
Okay.
bags of solution like on top, and then you like put tubes through this little holder thing, and then it controls like how much is in and how much is out and how much
Okay.
is in.
So it's like
Yeah, it's
carry on bag size as
yes,
far as
yeah. So
traveling.
like my
Okay.
clinic had like a rolling suitcase that I could borrow for travel.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
A little bigger. It was like a bigger bag, mostly because of the
Yeah.
padding to keep your expensive medical equipment safe. So,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
but yeah, so it's not a super complex machine. And I loved PD, but unfortunately got a terrible, terrible infection called peritonitis, which is an infection of that lining. And so I wasn't able to do that anymore. So then I had to switch 2.5 years ago to the in-clinic hemodialysis, which is what most people picture when they picture
Right.
dialysis. And so that was 3 times a week for about 4 hours. You're in a chair in a room full of other people who are on dialysis. And it's stricter dietary restrictions, which is the hardest part for me. The dialysis diet is no joke, and it sucks.
What
And
does that look like?
so it's low potassium and low phosphorus, and low sodium if blood pressure is an issue for you. But
Okay.
so potassium is like bananas and potatoes and all of that sort of stuff,
Okay.
which are two things I happen to love. And then phosphorus is the tough one, really, because it is not listed when you look at like the dietary chart on food. It's not included. So you can't just be like, oh, how much phosphorus is in this? So you just have to like know. And the thing is, dairy is very high in phosphorus. Dried beans, whole grains, and chocolates. And so, but it's just like, so the dairy and like whole grains are really hard because I spend all this time like training myself to eat grown up whole wheat bread.
Yeah.
And, like, now I
Yes.
can't have it. And it's cold outside and I can't have oatmeal. And so it's like, it's this super weird and very inconvenient cheese-free life that is not great.
And
Yeah.
and then add on top of that, it's basically a part-time job. You said 3 times a week, 4 hours a
3
day.
times a week.
So
Yeah.
add in commuting back and forth to
And
it.
for me, I'm like 25 minutes from my clinic.
Yeah.
Because we are, kind of rural up here. So I had to commute down into the clinic. But it's a lot of time. And in my case, I was lucky. I was on first shift. So it was like my actual like dialysis time is like 6:15 to 9:15 in the morning. So I had to be up like 5 Monday, Wednesday, Friday so that I could get down there. And then there's like the connection time and then the disconnection time. And
Right.
yeah, so it's a lot. I've done it while working, like in an office job, and it's easier when I'm not working for somebody else, that I do have control over my schedule and stuff, so I could come home and take a nap if I needed to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very time consuming and exhausting.
Oh,
It's exhausting.
Right.
Yeah.
And are there
So
social
that's-
supports for people like
That's what I was about to ask, like,
partial unemployment
People who
type
don't have a
thing?
flexible job. Like,
So
what do you do?
a lot of people end up having to go on disability because they can't, their job is unable. Like if you work for a smaller company, they just can't manage with the flexibility that somebody who's on dialysis might need.
Right.
And I am an anomaly in that I've been off and on dialysis since I was 22. Like I was, if not the youngest at my clinic, I was like in the bottom, maybe 3 or 4 at 45. And so, it's a lot of older, they're retired or they were close to retirement anyway. It's not as much of a concern in like the dialysis population at large. A lot of them are already on Social Security and then Social Security disability. So, but like I'm on Medicare at 45 because you automatically get Medicare with end stage renal disease. So I'm on that. And now that I've got my transplant, I'll be on it for 30 months post-transplant, and then I'll be back sort of into the normal insurance world.
I feel like you have a wealth of knowledge on government stuff, like between the forms and the agencies with the fire and then the insurance and the health. Like, do you feel like a walking
Involuntarily.
encyclopedia? You're right, right.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Do people come to you for help?
I try to make myself available, especially with the fire stuff, because I've said 100 times, like our community, like the town that we live in is like 2,000 people. It is not a large town. There's a lot of people who have lived here for a very long time. There are a lot of people, I mean, I met this couple that are both like over 80 that lost their house. And they're so sweet, but they are not spending the amount of time that I have spent researching online or dealing with automated phone systems, or it's like, it's a mess. My personal thing, I'm like, the state needs to put together a binder that says your house burned down in a wildfire. Now what? And that's just like a list, because you're managing. So we were a federal disaster. So we're managing federal organizations, right? There's FEMA and the SBA, which actually is the largest source of disaster recovery funding.
What does that stand for?
Like low interest. The SBA is the Small Business Administration.
Okay.
But they do the administration of low interest loans for rebuilding. So there's the SBA, there's FEMA, There's state so the state helped us. They came and cleared our property. So they come in with bulldozers and they scoop up all this stuff and they take it away. And it's super toxic, like all the things.
Oh, yeah.
Think about like how
Right.
many half cans of paint and like
Oh,
camping fuel and cleaning supplies, like all this
Oh,
stuff
yes.
that melts and is toxic now. So they come in and they scoop everything up, and then they actually have to like scrape like the top layer of soil.
oh, I'm
Um,
sure. Yeah.
and then they have to come. So part of why it took so long, so they refer to it as like getting your property back, because you have to get this certificate from the state that says that you're cleared to rebuild. Like all of the environmental hazards
Right.
have been dealt with.
Yeah.
And they had to scrape our property like 3 separate times, going down further and further, just because there was so much yuck in the soil. So they just had to like keep going and keep going and keep going. I think our
Do they
new
come
house,
refill it after that then?
I don't. It's
Okay.
we ended up, so they pretty much flattened it, and then when we were getting ready to break ground, our builder came and they graded it to actually flat, and then they pulled some dirt. So we have 4 acres, and the whole property is like a slant. It's like this with like a flat
Mhm.
spot in the middle. And so they like pulled some dirt down off the hill to sort of fill in some of the bits, and
Yeah.
the whole sort of terrain has shifted a little bit.
Mhm.
Which some of it's good. We've gained some more like parking area, which is excellent. Uh,
You're like,
'cause we're
flatten
like,
that part out, please.
yeah, well, because we're like up a hill, like our driveway is scary steep. And so we're up at the top. Otherwise, and our neighborhood doesn't have sidewalks. So it's like there's no good spots to park down
Right.
below. So it's good to have more parking right up by the house.
Like,
So
dig out a pool while you're up there. And
seriously, I think we're going to try and pull off a hot tub. I
Oh,
think is the
I highly
plan.
recommend. We did that last year.
I know. For my birthday, a month before the fire, my husband, Jamie, put together a stock tank hot tub for me.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So we had like a tankless water heater outside, and then and it was like hooked up, and we had a filter, and then the tank. It was great. He like built a little deck around it, so you had a place to put
So
your
cute.
drink.
Those are
Yeah.
so cool.
But yeah, I loved
Oh,
it for that month.
yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
we got
oh,
distracted from
sorry.
the actual transplant. I
Oh,
want to
yeah,
I want to get back into pew pew here. So let's
Yeah,
not
I
linger
do
too
too.
much on there. But so 3 months ago, you're 3 months.
Yes. Yep.
And I mean, if I had just got a new kidney 3 months ago, I would still be laying in the bed. So look at you go. I mean,
I'm ready. My brain is like, I am ready to be 100%, and my body's like, yeah,
Yes.
you wish. Like,
yeah.
I hit a wall at a certain point and then if I try and push past it still, I get a little like knocked out of commission for a day, but it's getting better every day, which is awesome. Just because I'm so ready to be back to, when I make my to-do list, I can actually finish it sort of life. So I'm getting there.
Well,
Hold
I'm
on.
so glad. And so the reason we wanted to highlight that is because we've actually had 2 of our previous guests who have been kidney donators. We had
Yes.
MK Backstrom, who is
Holy hot mess.
Holy Hot Mess. We had her on to come talk about Holy Hot Mess when that was released. And then she has a brand new book too. So we'll link to all that in the show notes. And then Catherine Perlman, MK donated to a family member, but Catherine's story is a little extra incredible that she donated to someone who just had a flyer in a coffee shop.
Yeah, I actually know Catherine.
Oh,
Yeah.
love her.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
her. So we do like to highlight that there are opportunities for people who really want to help people who are dealing
Yep.
with this
Yes.
and dealing with dialysis, taking up all of their lives. And it really can be such a life changer, lifesaver for people. So what is the best way for people who are interested in thinking about donating to look into that?
Yeah. So you can find a transplant clinic near you. I'm sure that the National Kidney Foundation website would have a database, or you could just search,
Mhm.
kidney transplant near me or something. My transplant, all 3 of them, because I have had several, have been at UC San Francisco.
Mhm.
So they do what's called altruistic kidney donation, which is just a person that says, I feel called to donate a kidney. I have 2, I only need 1. So I just want to give it to somebody. And so you
Mhm.
can actually call a clinic, you can contact a clinic, and then they can take you through the testing. And that is one way to donate. For me, I had some friends. I had put out a call on all of my social platforms and my blog and the whole thing of like, okay, I'm ready to talk about this. I need a kidney.
Yeah.
And so I actually was overwhelmed. I had so many people apply to donate to me that UCSF was like, they need to stop because we have this backlog of people to test.
That's amazing.
We can't, they're like, we're drowning in applications, which is amazing. And like, I don't even know who applied. A couple people told me, oh, they ruled me out because this or that. A friend of my mother-in-law's was like, I'm too old. They won't let me. And I'm like, you're so sweet. So yeah, so they basically told me, they were like, stop sending us people. We need to get through all of these ones. And so because it was my third transplant, I made very difficult. So my antibody load, so your antibody load is impacted by things in your life, pregnancies, vaccinations, illnesses. It's like you have this profile, right? Almost like your DNA. You have this antibody profile. And so my load is 99 out of 100.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So it makes me very, very difficult to match, which is part of why it was great that I had so many people that I overwhelmed the clinic.
Yes.
Because just it would increase my chances. So basically the decision or the logic that we had was my best bet for a kidney was what's called a paired swap. So what it is they find somebody, rather than hoping that I happen to find somebody in my own life who is a match to this crazy profile that I have, they find somebody in my life. So one of my people who is a good donor, just a donor, like who passes all the tests. They are, they're in good shape, blah, blah, blah. They're just a good donor for somebody, person B, right? So I'm recipient A. And then, so I have donor A, who actually ended up being another internet friend. Her name is Kelly, and she lives in Minneapolis. So she basically is a good donor, just not for me. So we, as a pair, were listed on this national database of pairs.
Okay.
So then what happens is they try to find either a pair where we can like cross swap. So then like recipient B has a donor and that donor gives to me. And then my Kelly gives to the other recipient.
Yeah.
So which is what ours was. We were just like a straight swap across. So Kelly's kidney was actually flown to New York. And then my kidney came from Georgia. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Again,
that's amazing.
Just like the procedure that we were talking about before, like these scientists are amazing. Like just the fact that people get so creative about thinking out these solutions. I love it.
That they can fly a kidney from California to New York.
The amazing thing is they will do chains. They've done chains of up to 18. I think it's 18 people.
Oh my gosh.
Where it's like A goes to B,
da-da-da.
B goes to C. Yeah, they like create these chains. So what's cool with the chains is an altruistic donor can be the person that kicks off a chain.
Oh, cool. So you're not just helping one person, you're helping
You could, right. Yeah.
18.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like
it's amazing. And all the people behind the scenes working that out, going, this one goes here and that one goes there. And people are pretty incredible.
They're amazing.
Well, and we think you are pretty incredible. And that's why we wanted to make sure in this holiday season that we're highlighting amazing moms that we should be supporting their businesses. Help you get some new decorations for that house that you're going to be moving into in January.
I have a whole stack of projects I'm working on.
Oh, well, hopefully we can help fund some of those through sending some people to Pew Pew Lasercraft.
Yeah,
and
can you tell us where to find you?
Yeah, so pewpewlasercraft.com is my website. It has all the things. And then it's the same, Pew Pew Lasercraft on Instagram and TikTok. Although I'm not as good on TikTok as I should be.
Oh, we are not. We hear
you singing our song.
Goodness gracious. Like, I got work to do. I can't make content.
Right.
And yeah, so that's where, and Facebook. It's Pew Pew Lasercraft everywhere. I would recommend my email list or Instagram are probably the best spots to get a hold of me. I do, like I said, I love custom orders. My favorite thing is when somebody calls me and is like, I want to make something for my mom that like has the grandkids on it. And then like she really likes rabbits. So maybe if we could do a thing with like rabbits and there's like 5 kids. And so I love getting like that sort of instruction and then turning it into a thing. And then a month later, I get a picture of like a crying grandma holding this thing that I made. Like my favorite. It's the best. I do like fundraising projects. I do custom ornaments for different like groups and organizations and teams and things. I've done a couple like soccer team. They do ornaments for their end of year, whatever. Yeah. So all sorts of stuff. There's, and there's things on my site and there's things that aren't on my site that I just haven't gotten around to posting.
So there's stuff that's ready to go. So if people are like, I want to order today and I don't need anything
pretty much.
Them, you can go order that, or you can do the custom order, which I'm assuming takes a little time. So, may not have that under the Christmas tree or in the Hanukkah package.
It depends. I do a lot of personalized ornaments too. I'm looking, I don't have anything laying here, but I have some that are here. Long distance, and you can do like states. So if you have someone that you love that's in Rhode Island and you're in Nevada, we can like put the states on, like those sorts of things. So I do like there's 100% custom and then there's customized and then there's like ready to go. And so the ready to go stuff I can usually get out within a day or so. Personalized might be like 3 days. And then the custom like from scratch, it can take a bit just because I'm only one person and, and the design, like I want you to love whatever design I end up coming up with. And so that's a bit of a process, but so.
Very cool. Well, so I'm just putting this in people's minds even for Valentine's Day, graduation coming up. There's, it's, even though we are talking about it in particular for around the holiday season, this isn't all year long things that you can do. So, I'm
picturing some pretty cool, like high school graduation.
I know.
Possibilities with schools and stuff.
I did a picture frame for the class of 2020 and it said 0 stars, do not recommend. It was really cute. That one did pretty well. But so, there's lots. And I'm always like working on new ideas and new product development. So for people who actually watch on YouTube, like I have this little dog leash. Like it has a hook on it for the leash.
It's a little tail.
Like I have all the different breeds and stuff. And so I'm working on getting this up. That's my dog. But so there's like, I'm always posting new things.
2 of those.
I know. I was going to say, I have 2 dogs. I bet you could.
I'm like, those are real cute.
So there's lots of stuff and lots of ideas out there. And so, I just love all of it.
Well, we really love supporting moms and moms businesses. So we hope our listeners will go check out the YouTube of this and see kind of what your setup looks like. And then head to your website where, like I said, I have my eye on some earrings and I'm trying to decide what else I'm ordering. But there's so much stuff on the website if you're looking for something right now. And then if you have creative ideas, send them in.
Yeah. And then I set up a promo code for listeners.
Yes.
So you can get 10% off with promo code MOM and no spaces, just Mom and that is valid through the end of February of next year.
So nice. We've shared that in our Facebook group this week, and we'll share it again when the episode runs.
Great.
Yes. That's so generous of you to do 10% off. And
Yes.
I think we could talk about all the things all day long, but it is time for our Look, Listen, Learns. If anyone is new here, we're so glad you're here and we welcome you. And at the end of every show, we spend a few minutes just kind of talking about what we're looking at, reading, learning. Sometimes it's serious. Sometimes it's completely ridiculous. And we never like our guests to be in the hot seat first. So Suzanne, tell us what you're listening, learning.
Okay. Well, I've kind of my look and my learn are the same, but I am looking at these books, Unscrewed, Women's Sex Power and How to Stop Letting the System Screw Us All by Jacqueline Friedman.
Oh.
And then also a book that Jacqueline did with Jessica Valenti, Yes Means Yes, Visions of Female Sexual Power and a World Without Rape. And then along with that, Making Sense of It. It's a guide to sex for teens and their parents. I'm, as I say at the beginning of every episode, advocate for sex ed. And the reason I have these and the reason I'm sharing them now, even though I've been looking at them for a while, is because Jacqueline and Allison, well, Allison was out sick, unfortunately, but Jacqueline's one of the 3 people I was interviewing with for this job that I have been just kind of referring to on social media and a few of the podcasts. I do not know if I'm getting the job, and this will be coming out after I know whether I'm getting the job. So I didn't want it to be one of those things where I'm like, hey, I got your book, give me the job. so this is the episode I needed to share them on, just because I think they are all really, really important books. And the company is called Educate Us, and it is part of SECUS, and SECUS is a group that promotes comprehensive and medically accurate sex ed for all kiddos, K through 12, and Educate Us is their more public facing group that tries to get sex ed in schools. So obviously this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I do not know if I'm going to get this job. And again, I'm strategically running this so that it doesn't look like it's a begging for the job. I will know yes or no before this runs. But I do think that it's just such an important organization, whether I am getting paid to work for them or I'm supporting them in any other ways that I can. I just want to make sure that everybody knows about them, Educate Us. So I will be putting the link to that in the show. Well, technically Missy will be putting the link to that in the show notes. Yeah. So you can check it out. It's really amazing resources for parents who want to make sure that they know what sex ed is being taught at their schools and making sure that it is accurate and inclusive of all. So that is my look. I am listening to, oh gosh, Missy, we've got to get her on the podcast. There's a new podcast called Why Care? And it is Reshma Sajani, who's the founder of the Marshall Plan.
Yes. Okay.
And then also Girls Who Code. So, and somehow she now also has time to do this podcast.
Again, people are amazing.
Yeah. And it's all about why America's care system is so critical, especially for family care, whether it's elder care, care for babies, those types of things, why it's so critical. And then she co-hosts it with Tim Allen, who's the CEO of care.com, which
not Tim the Tool Man.
No,
I was like, what?
No, not that Tim Allen. Care.com. And
yeah.
I haven't had to use it for a while, but I was like, oh, I remember care.com. That's basically for, to find trusted care providers for elder care for kids, whatever you need. So we've talked about this topic a lot on our podcast, but it's not something we dedicate every episode to. And I think it's so important that there is a podcast that is dedicating every episode to this particular topic and how we can change it from a legislative standpoint, from, working with different companies. There's just so many different ways to attack this problem and to see a vision. I think Missy's brought this up and they said it on the podcast yesterday. I was like, you're reading Missy's mind. This idea of like, it is possible. I mean, it's not like there's no proof of concept that it works. You can look at pretty much any other country in the world and see that there's ways to do this. So I'm just so excited that there's going to be a place for people to get more information on that. And I learn, this is, I'm learning a lot from all the books that I've been reading. But also I'm so sad my son is officially on the last size of Children's Place boys chinos. It's so...
I can't believe he can still fit in. I guess he's so skinny, but he's so tall.
Skinny. In fact, here's what I love about him. And every pant should have the little thing on the side of the pants where you can yank on the elastic and like tie up the button to make it whatever waist you need. I mean, we tightened it so tight. I thought we were going to run out of elastic. My
13-year-old still needs that for sure.
Oh my gosh. But I mean, they're $10. They are $10. Well, no, they're not always $10, but when you buy them, like, 75% of the time they have a sale going on. And I got a 3-pack of them for $28, and he's the size 18 now, except for lengthwise, he'll probably be out in like a month. Tummy wise, I think he's probably a size 18 months. I don't know. He's like, he's our tall string bean. But I'm so crushed because literally you go to any other like clothing store, the exact same size, except for like 1 extra inch of fabric on the bottom pants, are $40.
No, once they change to men's, forget it.
I'm so sad. And it's all because school band holiday recitals are such a racket because they want the black pants and they want the Sunday best shoes or whatever. And I'm like, that just cost me $100. How? Well, now it didn't because I got the children's place $10 pants. But when I thought I was going to have to buy them at the men's, and then now he wears shoes the same size as my husband, which I was like, why didn't I just let him have a pair of your shoes? But I bought him a pair of shoes to wear. And yeah, I'm like, this is not economically fair to families. And so I went on automatically to his school Facebook group and said, hey, I have these black pants and shoes that were worn once last year that are available. So
you need them for next year's band concert.
Yeah, exactly. And we will just continually be rotating them. So
yeah,
that's my learn. What about you, Liz? You've been look, listen, learning?
Yeah. So my look, I read a book recently called Grace, Barack Obama and 10 Days in the Battle for America. It sounds way more intense than it actually is. So it was written by Cody Keenan, who was one of his speechwriters.
Yeah.
And the 10 days in question are between the St. Emmanuel shooting and when Obama sang Amazing Grace.
I have heard of it. They had him on the Pod Save America talking about it. It sounds amazing.
That's why I bought it, because they talked about it. And I was like, this sounds right up my alley. Yeah.
Yes.
So I bought it I think that day or the next day. And it is so good. And I actually tweeted at Cody and I was like, I can't decide what I loved more about it, how you talk about writing or how you talk about your wife. It is just like, she was a researcher in the White House. So they basically her job is to tell him that he's wrong. It was wonderful. And for me, heading right into the midterms and stuff, it was just a well-timed sort of moment for me to read. So I highly recommend it. It was so good.
I'm so glad you reminded me of that because it's so funny. I can remember I was pulling into the UPS parking lot to return something when I was listening to that. And it sounded that we need to link to that interview too. It was such a charming interview. I just thought he seemed like a really neat guy. And I'm so glad you reminded me of that. Awesome.
Yeah. And I love it as a West Wing fan. I love just getting the behind the scenes of the White House and basically hearing that working there is basically as cool as I thought it would be is just, it was wonderful. So that's my looking, I guess. Listening, I just switched over to Spotify for all my podcasts instead of the stupid Apple app. And so I just have been purging and updating and stuff. So one is called The Weirdest Thing I Learned This Week. And it's a couple of women who work for Popular Science magazine. So when they say weird, it's it's super weird. It's so good. It's great. So that was a good one. And then another one, I guess I searched the word weird because the other one is called History for Weirdos.
I've heard of that one.
Oh my God, these sound amazing. I'm adding these automatically.
And so I'm a fan of the, sort of different angle on learning, still learning things and feeling like I'm not wasting my time just listening to anything.
Yes.
So anyway, those are my two picks. And then my learning, I just took a pottery class. It was the coolest. It was
a spinning wheel kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If it wasn't so cold out here, I would be drinking out of the mug that I made with my very own hand. And I only sang a little bit of the song from Ghost while I was making it. But yeah, it was really cool. It's one of those things, I've always wanted to try it. And my husband and I would watch the Great Pottery Throwdown.
Yes. Yes.
And we call ourselves theoretical whatevers. We watch the knife making show and we're theoretical blacksmiths, and the pottery show we're theoretical potters. And so this class popped up just 10 minutes away. And so I did it and it was really cool. And I'm very proud of myself too, because it's I'm by myself. I didn't have a friend with me or anything. So yeah, it was really great. And so it was fun to get dirty. This isn't a super dirty craft.
Yeah.
Clay is very dirty. So it was great. It was a lot of fun. So that's a thing that I learned recently.
I need to do that again. I had so much fun in my pottery class.
I've always wanted to do that, and I'm just afraid I'll be terrible at it.
No, you will for a minute. Yeah.
Oh, God. You should see my bowls. They're terrible, but it's fun.
I
had so much fun.
Pottery Throwdown show, and I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
very intricate, detailed work going into lots of thought going into
I'll
it. You're not
also
just
watch anything that's people who are very good at doing what they do.
yes.
Oh, yes.
I don't care what it is. If you're really good at it, I want to watch you do it. If it's your passion, like I'm watching because I love it.
Yes, I
Yeah.
got sucked into it must have been a TikTok of someone doing a pottery wheel thing. And it was this guy that he would like, it was like 7 different layers and he was adding
yeah.
blocks on top of it. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious. And
Yeah.
it was kind of zen, but then it was also just a little bit stressful because I could just see too much of me and like, he's going to get to layer 5 and it's all going to go kaplooey. But yeah, so cool.
Yeah, people who are good at what they do and have a vision and create something, like it is
Yep.
inspiring and fun to watch for
Yeah,
sure.
I love it.
I love that, Lauren.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
What about you, Missy? You've been learning, listening. God, you would think I remember the order of that eventually.
We've only done a few shows. It's hard to learn.
Oh my gosh, this is show 99, y'all.
Yeah.
Is this show 99?
This is show
yeah,
99.
this is show 99.
Wow.
So be sure to stick around for next week because I'm sure we'll have something really exciting.
Yeah, we're gonna get it figured out between now and then.
We'll eat a donut while we record. That'll be our 100th episode.
Oh, that's awesome. Hold on, I have to cough. Oh my gosh.
Oh, just in time for your look, listen, learns. Okay, mute yourself.
Okay.
No, you're okay.
That's my learn. I'll go ahead and say my learn now is don't talk to Dr. Google. I have had a terrible ear infection like a toddler and have had all this crud for well over a week. It like came, moved in and sat and stayed. And I didn't Google anything until after the doctor told me that my eardrum was ready to rupture. And then even then I waited like 24 hours. And then I was like, I got to know what happens if my eardrum ruptures or what is it going to feel like or whatever. And so I started Googling and it went from like your eardrum's going to rupture to you're going to have brain damage and permanent nerve damage in your face. And like Dr. Google is an alarmist, very dramatic, but so don't do that. People just talk to your doctor. Don't go to people. My eardrum did not rupture. Thankfully, I still can't fully hear out of it, but it's getting better and I can feel movement in my ear again. Like it was so full that it was just like this flat, hard drum. It was horrible. So that's my quick learn. My look is when I got sick and I felt terrible, I just turned on the West Wing, which is funny that you mentioned the book, your book, Liz, that you brought up, because it's that same feeling for me of like, I know the West Wing is fictional, but they worked really hard to make it somewhat reality. But it is this idealized White House where people are really passionate and they care about the right things. And it's also a little disconcerting because we're still dealing with some of the issues, many of the issues that we're talking about 20 years ago and why it couldn't get fixed and why things weren't happening and it's partisan politics and why nothing gets done. And so it both warms my heart and makes me angry at the same time. But I've spent a few days just going back and the character Leo McGarry is one of my favorite characters on television of all time. And he regularly makes me just weep with his kindness. He's just such a complex, kind man, Leo. And I love to believe that he's real. So anyway, I've been watching that. And what I'm going to watch this weekend is Three Pines. So I've never done this before where I've given a look, listen, learn that I haven't actually done. But I talk about Louise Penny all the time in her books on this. It's been a look, listen, learn many times. Yes. But she writes the Inspector Gamache novel set in Three Pines. And they've turned it into a TV show. And she's been somewhat involved. And she has said there's some things she's not wild about. But for the most part, she really loves what they've done. And it's going to be on Amazon Prime. And I think as we're recording on December 2nd. I think it premieres today. So by the time this airs, I will probably have binged every available episode. And I can't wait. Like, I can't wait to see what they think it looks like. And if it looks like what I think it looks like. And so.
Oh, that's so cool.
That will be that. Yeah.
Were you aware that they were doing this when you were reading the last book?
I think I knew. Yeah, probably. She's talked about it off and on. She writes a monthly newsletter, which saying that makes my stomach not because we haven't sent our newsletter in a while and that's on me. But anyway, Louise writes a really great monthly newsletter and she never fails to send it. Yeah, I wonder if she's busy and would like to do our newsletter. But it's a great newsletter too. You feel like you're getting a letter from her. And so she's mentioned it off and on. I don't remember when I found out about it though. But I have been picturing Alfred Molina is playing the lead character. And when I first read that, I was like, I don't know. Like, in my opinion, I think they've messed this up. But now I've seen stills of him and I kind of get it. So I can't wait to watch it unfold. That's not what he looks like the character's description, but at the same time, he didn't look like what was in my mind. You know how that happens. So I don't know. I'm very excited to see what they've done. And there's a new Three Pines book as well, a new Inspector Gamache novel. So I may be reading and binging all weekend long. We'll see.
Nice. Ooh, I'm adding that to the list.
Yeah. So, well, this was fun, Liz. Thank you so much. And thank you for cooperating with us having to
you.
reschedule. It was one of those weeks. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. I'm
No
glad
problem.
you're feeling better, Missy.
Thank you. Thank you. I am too. Now time to go figure out what it is I do and how I do it.
Oh my gosh. And it was so nice. I'm extra looking forward to Mom 2. Are you going to be there next year?
I think so. I put the deposit down and then I saw the email to buy the ticket. But
Well,
yeah, I'm sure I will because I never miss it.
Oh, good. Well, hopefully we
we'll
have the
be there.
chance to meet you there then.
Definitely.
next year.
And then also shameless thing, if you guys want to see the house, I have another Instagram for the house.
Oh, yes.
And it's
I'm
Make
jealous.
This Home TV.
Wait,
Okay.
has it been featured like on TV?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
we started the account when we bought our house in 2020
Okay.
because the house had been built in 1992 and we bought it from the people who built it. And so it was all super 1992. It was like honey oak cabinets and wallpaper everywhere.
Yeah.
And so we looked at 50 houses, like middle of the pandemic. We were up here driving 3 hours every weekend to go look at houses. And we finally found one that was like new enough that it was structurally sound, but ugly enough that like there was lots of projects.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're both project people. My husband builds furniture. And so it was really our dream house. And so we had updated all of this stuff and done all these projects and then it burned down. So now it's a construction progress.
Oh my gosh.
But our
Yes.
new house is so cute. Like
Yay.
can you see
Oh,
how
it is
that
cute.
Oh, that's
I love the color.
charming.
Yeah.
Love the color.
So I'm obsessed with it. We like drive by. Like I said, like so town is like 4 miles away and then our house is 2 miles away and then we're at my mother-in-law's house. So it's like a line. And so we drive past our street like to take Max to school or to go to the grocery store. So yeah, it's like really hard not to stop by every single time I drive by just to like go look at it. 'cause
Yes.
it
Oh
makes
my
me
God.
so
I
happy.
totally, the house we're in now, we moved in 2 years ago and we lived probably a half-hour drive away and we would still find excuses to be
Mhm.
like, oh, well, let's just, and we
Yep.
wouldn't like stalk in front of it. We would just kind of drive by real slowly and be
I've
like,
done that too.
there it
Because I don't want
is.
I don't necessarily want the workers to know how often I'm
Yes.
driving by.
Oh,
So I'm just like super casual. Fortunately, there's like a lot of forerunners in town, so like I can blend in.
Yeah, sometimes we would take a different car. We'd be like, let's take your car because we drove over
Yep.
the other car last time.
Yep.
Oh, well, that is so
I love
exciting.
to watch the building process. I would be there all the time.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's crazy.
Oh, and you deserve it. You deserve an amazing
thanks.
home to get a moment of relaxation, hopefully, in.
Yeah.
Just so excited to get to know you and your whole story. And really hopeful that listeners will pop on by and take a look and be able to
Yeah.
support you at Pew Pew. Some great stuff. I just want to say Pew Pew all the time. Lasercraft.
Yep.
Such a great name.
It is. And all the links are in the show notes, and we'll be sharing it in the socials as well. So people can
Awesome.
be sure to pop on by and get some great ideas for the holidays
Great.
or for the year ahead and beyond.
Perfect.
All
right.
Thank you
Awesome.
so
Thank
much.
It
you.
was great to meet you both.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Mom and ... podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and if you know someone else who could benefit from the episode, please be sure and share it with them. And while we're begging, please subscribe and rate us wherever it is you listen to podcasts. You can find links to all the things we discussed today in our show notes or over at our website, momandpodcast.com, with the A-N-D spelled out. In between shows, find us over at the socials, including our private Mom and Community Facebook group. The links to that group and all of our socials can be found at momandpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you more than you know. Now go out there and make your ellipses count.